And I find this idea of the beard, that the learner is equal to the teacher, because today we are facing this incredible acceleration provided by information, so it's very difficult to work with knowledge when when it's not possible to have a really common shared knowledge, because, for example, Facebook takes 6 months to become a mass medium, so it's 50 millions of people. So what is happening is that only the students or the teenagers, the guys, the young guy, they are living into this environment. The professor, they are backyards in the world, because they are rooted in a philosophy, in a cultural heritage that is always 10 years later than the real world. And I took this idea from the rear view syndrome, mirror of Marshall McLuhan, the idea that our culture is always looking on the past, is never looking on the present. And so for this reason, I try to set up this dimension where the student is equal to the professor, to the teacher. And they have to work together in a sort of lab of research, which is what we are trying to do with the MA level especially. And so there is also the idea that the school is a unique organism where the learners of the BA, of the bachelor, analyze and criticize the artworks of the master. And so there are the same students from the bachelor, they give meanings to the artworks of the guys from the master. So it's a kind of self-creating organism that try to define a new cultural pathway. And obviously the idea is an academy as cultural homeostatic apparatus, and I took this idea from Neil Postman. The academy must be or is innovative when society is conservative, and conservative when society is innovative. So it's a kind of homeostatic work. What I mean is, if the society is completely into the dematerialization, so it's very interesting to work and to explore or probe the materialization of the book, of the paper. But if the society is really into the books, so the concrete things, it's very interesting to work into the dematerialization. And I took this idea from Neil Postman. As you know, it was a very interesting educator. Another very interesting point is the difference that I found between reason and intelligence. That intelligence is really interesting, because in Latin intelligence means intelligere, means to link things. And apparently intelligence is more related to passion, attraction, or more related to something that is linked to our chemical or physical process. So there is this passionality when you try to understand true intelligence that is typical in an art context, is different than rationality. And we will see why this is important at the end. There is another thinker that is very interesting, that is Hilary Putman, because Hilary Putman demystified all the scientific dominance, and is part of this postmodern, in my point of view, is part of this postmodern view, because Hilary Putman said that the realism doesn't exist. You know, he defined the metaphysic realist as the people that they are looking for something that at the end there isn't. So they are only grand narrative, as Lyotard said, and he said also that the science is a kind of magic. So in order to work with this openness, because the concept of the postmodern tradition is the idea to believe that nothing exists, so there are a lot of theories, on contrary on what a lot of critics they said, I found very interesting the last work of Marshall McLuhan, the Laws of Media, the Tetrads, that are very criticized and not really appreciated. Is well, this term maybe is too much, like a new science replaced the current old science, because they were referring, Marshall McLuhan's son Eric, they were referring to Joan Battista Vico, and Joan Battista Vico, he was writing about the new science. So a new science replaced the current old science of needed artifacts, which is too narrow and too rigid, having drawn its techniques from the abstract method used since the Renaissance. What is interesting is the Tetrad is an open methodology that you can apply to almost everything, and is based on language, and it's really easy to use. So all the students, they can really understand how it works, and maybe it's not something that goes into the truth, but it's something that can enhance the creativity and the possibility to have a subversive point of view on the subject that they are analyzing. And is a reading of the methodology that humankind used when they were facing a very high innovation and technology, like during the Greek Age and Middle Age, when they didn't have the tools in order to demonstrate their theories. And I'm a little bit, concerned about this idea of science like a real truth, because science is demonstrated by his own machine for seeing what is theorizing. This is the Kuhnian paradigm. So if you avoid this, if you go outside of this, with the Tetrad, you can build world, and there is the link with Ernest von Clausewitz and the constructivism, the radical constructivism.